Okay, here's a quick video. I just want to talk about some of the movement in the charge beam room, Watery Hall, and the new any percent task, just to give some appreciation behind the scenes of what is going on in this room. So for starters, I use the actionable cutscene bug to walk to the edge of this slope so that I can ghetto jump after the cutscene. Just figured I'd show that off at the start. That's why I'm not standing in the exact center of this mound. You'd normally be there or so. But the main focus of this video is dash optimizations in a situation where I can't retarget a lock-on. So I'm going to grab the target right here and then scale up the room. And I find myself on this ledge here. So if I open World Editor, we can look at that ledge. I'm right here. So I climbed up to that spot. And I want to jump from this ledge to this. So from right here up to this thing. And I want to ledge ghetto off of it because that's going to give me more speed jumping out of the room. I want to have a lot of speed when I land on this ledge, moving upwards. And this piece of collision here is kind of in the way. If I just jump straight forward, I'm going to collide with this. And if I continue rolling forward after here, I'm going to overshoot this. I'll be too high up by the time I reach it. Or I would have to jump up and fall and then jump again, and that would be slow. So what I end up doing is using a ledge ghetto from this point to get enough height to be above this ledge, and then I strafe to this side. And normally if you were to strafe to this side, you'd strafe over here and you'd end up there by the time you land. And that wouldn't be good, because if I were to jump here, I just hit my head. I don't want to land here. So what I end up doing is I use my space jump to counter strafe the other direction. I strafe this way and space jump back. But instead of getting all of my speed from the space jump, I use RNL to lock my speed around the time that it transitions to being forwards, which doesn't leave me with an insane amount of speed going forward, but I'm so close to the ledge that it doesn't really matter that much. I end up getting on top of it and ledge ghettoing out pretty quick. And since I have to keep the lock on, I can't cancel my strafes without interacting with collision. I'd have to dash into a wall to stop strafing. If I couldn't just let go of L and press it again and keep the lock on. I couldn't just strafe and then L jump and clip this. I have to use another dash to get to it. So the counter strafe lets me stay relatively centered instead of shooting way off to one side, which I just thought was a cool little optimization. And it's actually my second time recording the video because the first time I forgot to make my mouse visible. I'm trying to make sure. I think there's one other thing I wanted to mention about this. Right, so with space jump, if you space jump when you're strafing, you're in the middle of a dash already, your space jump will have its full height. It'll start with 9 speed and count up from there for the frames that you're in jump state 1. But if you're not strafing already, if you break your lock on and then lock on again so you're no longer strafing, or if you hit a wall and cancel the strafe that way, when you space jump, you'll get the 9 speed on the first frame, but then the strafe will cancel it, and it'll bring it down to 1, and then you get very low height. So keeping the lock on the entire time allows me to get a full height space jump when I jump to this ledge. So that's pretty cool, and we can see it on here. Let me get the controller. So we will do that, and I'm just going to detach the camera, I think. So we can see Samus is coming up through here. I make a save state, and I strafe, and then counter strafe to end up at the ledge. And maybe from this perspective we can watch the speeds more clearly. So this green line here is my speed, that's my facing angle. You can see it goes straight to forward, and I end up ledge clipping immediately. It's very, very quick. I don't know which, I think this might be the clearer view to just watch the dolphin window. But yeah, that's really clean. And then I faced another problem when I got up to the top of this room, which is when you're standing up here, how do you get below this as quickly as possible? And the obvious answer would be to downward strafe dash, do a downward dash, which is when you dash at the end of jump state 1, so that you just accrue a bunch of downward speed without having any positive speed from jump state 1. You just strafe and shoot down. But the question is, like, how do you optimally do that when you can't break the lock on? Like, I can't double strafe by breaking the lock on and locking on again. But what I can do that I realized is very precise is if I'm lower down here, because this like piece of collision goes upwards, it gains height vertically. If I'm down here and I strafe, I can bend into this and hit it, and colliding with the wall can cancel your strafe. So if I collide with the wall while still in jump state 1, I'll be able to strafe again. And that strafe will have a bunch of negative speed, or it'll build a lot of downward speed, because strafing builds downward speed, and I won't have any jump state 1 to counteract that. It'll just shoot downwards, and that's what I ended up doing. So we're also going to show that off real quick. If I just get a good camera angle to view it from, probably right here is fine. So I end up here, I strafe and hit the wall, and then can strafe again. I'll maybe go to the side a bit here. I'll bring up controller input here. So I strafe into the wall, and you can see this is my trajectory line. When I hit the wall and re-strafe, that's when it cuts off my vertical speed, and then I start just accelerating downwards. And I can get under this wall as quickly as possible. And the reason why I want to do that is because this trigger here is the load trigger, and you can see it through the collision. It's a bit difficult to show, but as you can see, this wall is higher than that, so I have to go below this to touch it. I can't go above and, you know, get to here quickly, so I want to get down as quickly as I can. And all of this stuff is done with the scan target out of, not necessarily out of range. I can't scan it because the collision here, this entire ceiling on this area, this is not scanned through. So once I go up here, I get out of bounds, I pass this point, I can't lock onto the target again. I have to just keep the target the way it is and find clever ways of maneuvering quickly when I can't let go of the lock on or re-lock on to, you know, do things like double strafing. I have to use the collision here to double strafe. And yeah, that's pretty much that little tidbit video. I hope I can make more of these, of just little cool things that happen in the tasks as I come across them.